Hold on. There's an officer in here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. They're leaving.
Hello, and welcome back to 1 Minute Remaining. My name is Jack Laurence, the host and creator of this show. Today, we meet a man named Rio. Rio is not his real name, and it's the only one we'll be getting. Because if authorities got wind of who he really was, then he would end up spending a long time in the hole. Why? Well, you're about to find out. Over the course of the last 18 months, I've spoken to countless men and women who are currently incarcerated across the United States. One of the biggest questions I get is how? How do you find them? And how can you talk to these people so freely, record these stories, and put them out? Well, it's honestly not too difficult once you jump through a few initial hoops to get to them. Once I have their details, I can look them up via individual prison databases, request to be accepted into their mailing system, and I send them a message. Of course, these messages get screened, but that's purely to make sure there is nothing illegal being spoken about. Once I've made contact via email, I then set up a time for them to call my US number, and away we go. Again, each of their calls are monitored and recorded. And honestly, sometimes even I'm shocked at what they're willing to say over the phone. But essentially, they seem to be reasonably protected by their First Amendment right to free speech, even if they themselves are not physically free. However, today's incarcerated individual is entirely different. One night, as I was sitting watching TV with my wife, my phone dinged. It was a Facebook message request. Here we go, another bloody scammer, I thought. I looked at the message, which simply read, "Hi Jack." Assuming this was likely just that, a scammer, I gave the person nothing and simply replied, "Yes?" The 3 dots appeared and I waited for what was to come next. My name's Rio. I'm an inmate in the United States. I hear you tell the stories of people who are incarcerated. When I got this message, I was only a couple of months into creating the show, so I was still pretty naive to the workings of the prison system and was utterly confused by the message. I turned to my wife. I just got a Facebook message from some guy saying he's in prison. "That's weird," she says. She goes back to watching TV. She can be a hard woman to impress. So I replied, "Yes, that's right. Would you be interested in speaking with me?" What I wasn't prepared for was what happened next, as my phone started ringing. And I ran to my office to hit record. Now, a word of warning for our first initial chat, because it was so out of the blue, I didn't have quite enough time to connect my equipment up properly, so I'm essentially holding my phone up to the microphone on loudspeaker, but the quality is still pretty good. How are you, my friend?
All right. Maintaining.
I appreciate you talking with me. So I have a show, like a podcast, which is like a radio show, and I chat to... During our first initial back and forward, I found out that he is incarcerated with someone else that I've been chatting with who had passed on my information. Rio was quite hesitant to start with. In fact, he gave me quite the grilling about my intentions.
So, your podcast is online, obviously, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And what is the purpose, your goal behind, learning more about us and putting it online? What is the ultimate goal? Is to, I don't know. I just trying to figure out what it is that I'm volunteering for.
Yeah, so understandably, people like Rio are very wary of random strangers saying they want to know their story. But eventually, he warmed up a little, and we started chatting more about just how he was messaging me from Facebook. I am fascinated that you're on Facebook. Are you able to tell me how you're doing that, or would you rather not?
Okay, I can do that if I'm not giving my full name.
Of course.
But yeah, I can tell you. I mean, since 2000, I've been incarcerated 24 years.
Yeah.
And since 2005, I convinced an officer to bring me a phone. And ever since then, I got a taste of that. It's become part of my sentence. I've gotten two of them already since then. And you go to the hole for 60 days for that. I lose a lot of them. And the phones are ridiculously expensive in here. Some places are cheaper than others, but right now they're like pretty much expensive everywhere. And they've started issuing tablets in the Florida Department of Corrections for a few years now.
Yeah.
And they're making a lot of money off of us. This is very, very monetary here. Everything here is private. A lot of people have a lot of private companies are embedded in the DOC system in order to make a lot of money off of us. And the prices that they charge us are astronomical. This is totally a business. This is not to serve justice, but for everybody to make money off of us. These tablets are Androids. So there's a lot of people in prison in other states that are using these same tablets who've sent us programs via the phone and emails that you can embed into the tablet and break and hack the tablet. So once you hack the tablet through somebody else's hotspot, whether it's somebody's phone or a hotspot device, a Wi-Fi router, whatever it is, you can log into the phone, to the tablet, and it's like a phone. You just got to get some earbuds with a mic on it, and voila. So right now I'm using a hotspot stick that you can stick. It's like a modem, a router modem that you can put it into a computer, a DVD player. You can stick it to the back of the TV, or you could just put it into a charging box and connect it to the wall. And up to 10 people can get on the hotspot via their tablet.
Wow.
So the officers walk by now, and it's no longer you have to hide your phone.
Because you're on the tablet.
And it's legal. So when they come at us and they're like, "Can you see your tablet?" We just turn it on real quick and just touch a couple of little buttons, and boom, and it goes back to the original settings of the DOC settings.
Right.
And they can't find anything unless they actually take it to the company and plug it into the computer and look at it real good, then they'll catch you.
So yeah, because there was an inmate who was sending me emails via Gmail, and I was like, I didn't know how he was doing that, so he must be doing it that way.
Or a phone, either way.
Or a phone. So is there a lot of phones in the prison?
Yeah, some prisons have more than others, but yeah, there's a lot of phones.
And the officers bring those in? Correct. Wow.
Just like the tobacco, they took it out of the canteens and made it illegal to have tobacco in prison in 2010.
Yeah. Or
2011, I think. And now it's become the booming business for every officer because officers are allowed to bring in up to 2 packs a day.
They bring in cigarettes and then they sell them to you.
Right. And then once it makes it to, like the officer says it for $100 a pack. The pack costs like $1.50.
$100 a packet?
Oh, that's nothing. They're not making anything because the inmates get them. And by the time I get it, I'm paying like $300 a pack.
And people on the outside thought cigarettes were expensive. Rio says if he buys a packet of smokes for $300, he will then on-sell each cigarette for around $25 to $30 each. So essentially, he could be making up to $750 from one packet of cigarettes. And much like on the outside of prison, it's a simple case of supply and demand that drives the prices up or down.
The least amount of officers that bring stuff, the higher the prices are. The more officers bring it in, then you got competition. Like, for example, phones. A phone right now here will cost you anywhere between $1,500 to... Hold on, there's an officer in here.
Oh, okay. This is the other big difference between talking to Rio and the other men and women I do. He's hyper-vigilant during our conversation, as of course, he's at a big risk of being caught and sent to solitary confinement. So every time an officer comes past his bunk, the phone goes down.
All right, they're leaving. Yeah, a phone costs right now at this institution between $1,500 to $2,000, and we're talking about an Android that costs about $50 at Walmart.
Right, so it's not even smart. It's not like an iPhone.
No, Yeah, right. I've had when I've been in other institutions where I've had good opportunities to get a large amount of phones in, and I'll get 10 Walmart phones to sell them and make money, but then I'll put my personal phone, and my girlfriend sends me an iPhone, but I didn't like it, so I sold that too. And then I went and got a Galaxy 8. That one I liked a lot. The Galaxy was real good. I like that one.
The way you're talking is like it's like you're just out shopping. You can get whatever you want.
Well, I used to. Not anymore. Not
right.
here.
It's harder.
Yeah, this is really hard. And then the thing is, the more, when you make it to South Florida prisons, the abilities are bigger because it's more city mentality. The officers are more, hip hop culture, suburban. It's a lot easier to get things in those type of places because everybody's on the same mindset. But when you go deep, you go up north and you make it into the panhandle of Florida, that is all rednecks. Nothing but a lot of Ku Klux Klan up there. It's a Klan's neighborhood. Everything's very racist, very plantation wise. Everyone's looked upon as slaves, and those people are not bringing in much. Out there it's super expensive.
Yeah,
very, very, everything's expensive if you can find it.
Of course, as Rio has stated, everything that is considered contraband in prison is very expensive. So I was curious as to how he was affording it. How do you afford to buy all this stuff?
Well, I was my wife. I lost my wife to cancer, and she left me a large amount of money.
Right.
Behind through life insurance and whatnot, and I've always been an investor in here. Like I don't just sit around and just play checkers and chess. I'm always finding ways to get phones and tobacco in.
Right. Okay.
And that's how I am able to maintain my daughter, who's parentless right now, and help my mom out and pay my lawyers and put canteen money and be self-sufficient for myself. But it's very hard. It's very hard because the prison system now has become gang infested, and I refuse to be a gang member. So it's kind of hard. It's like hyenas and a wolf by yourself.
Yeah. So I mean, so as someone who's got a bit of money and can get these things, does that make you a bit of a target?
Not really a target, but you become something easier to be moved out of the way. Like if somebody realizes the way I'm getting the things in, it's the majority of people in here want to be in my shoes now.
Yeah.
So now they try to find a way to get me out of the way, either by stabbing me or by sending a request in and having me put confinement or whatever. And then they just step into that role and make the money I'm making. But if you're a known gang member, those type of approaches are not being done because now there's going to be repercussions from other gangs.
Mm.
See, but the thing with me is that I've been in here so long, I know a lot of people. I'm Hispanic, so the Hispanics stick together a lot, so it doesn't really bother me.
We're going to get into Rio's life and the reason for him being incarcerated, but he is serving a life without parole sentence. And no, not for murder. And we discuss the issue around these incredible sentences that are handed out. And Rio, much like others who I've spoken to, say they believe wholeheartedly the reason is simple: money.
It's a business to keep us incarcerated.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you have these other companies that come in, the ones that sell the tablets, the ones that sell the music, the ones for the collect phones, the one for the food, the ones that sell us canteen. All these companies are all private vendors that are giving money under the table to the state in order to be able to come in here and bank on us. And all they ask for in all their contracts is that these beds stay full. Do not release these people.
Do you think that's why they hand out such massive jail sentences, just to keep you in there as long as possible?
Yes, of course. And they're called zero tolerance. And the moment you go home, I got a friend of mine who did 23 years. and he went home on curfew. He was on parole for 4 years, probation for 4 years for the state. And he came home 8 minutes late because of an accident in the turnpike. And they violated and sent him back to prison for 4 more years for 8 minutes late. These are the things they do to you. I mean, it's a business. It's completely a business. There's no doubt in my mind about it. I have a mandatory life sentence with no eligibility for parole for robbing a man for his Rolex watch. No one was touched. Like, no skin was placed on anyone else's skin in my case. I was accused of robbing a man for his watch. The man got his watch back, and I got life. I've been here 24 years. My neighbor right here, that's sitting right next to me, he got a burglary case. They gave him 30. I mean, my other partner over there, he has a home invasion, which is a little more, that's a little more intense. They gave him life. First time he ever came to jail. I mean, these stories, I could tell you hundreds and hundreds of these.
Again, now, before we start sounding like bleeding hearts and, oh no, these poor criminals. Yes, people who commit these crimes must pay a price. And yes, if Rio and his bunkmates hadn't been committing these crimes, they wouldn't be in prison. I am not against prison. I am against the way it's set up. I am against the lack of reform and rehabilitation. I'm against giving someone a life without parole sentence for stealing a watch or making a poor choice. Speaking of the lack of rehabilitation and setting people up to do better in their life, Rio tells me what happens to those who have long sentences.
The other part of this equation here is that once you're here and you have over 3 to 5 years in prison, you cannot enroll in any programs aside from faith-based programs. That's it. There's no vocational trades. There's no GED. There's nothing. You can't do anything for yourself in here because you have too much time, and therefore you're not going to benefit from that. They're only giving all these programs in vocational trades and education to those that are going home soon. So what is the large amount of population here? There's 17% of people in prison with life sentences right now in the state that are never getting out. 17%. And all we do all day is just sit around and look at each other. We go to rec, we go to the canteen and watch TV, and that's it. Because there's nothing for us to do. So you have to find a job somewhere, somehow, and convince someone to hire you so you can get out and do something on a daily basis.
Essentially, if you have a long sentence, which, let's face it, in the United States is an extremely large amount of the prison population, they will not allow you to enroll in any programs whatsoever. Because they simply say, what's the point? You're in here. What are you going to get from it? So what incentive is there for an incarcerated person with a long sentence like Rio? Well, for him, he says, hope and family.
My incentive is this: visits. My family supports me. I have friends and family that love me. My daughter is very young still, so she needs to see me. I need to talk to them on a daily basis. I cannot get in trouble because if I go to confinement or I get put inside one of those holes where I'm stuck in there for a year or two, I lose all that. And that's all I have left. So I'm going to do everything in my power not to get caught doing whatever it is that I'm doing and not to get into any trouble because I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
My other incentive is that if I'm in a place of confinement or in closed management, I can't fight my case. I can't read about the new laws that are coming out. I can't be on top of motions, deadlines at the courthouses. I mean, I can't talk to my lawyer. I'm going to go deeper into a hole that I can't get out of. And I'm a true believer that if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not going to get caught up in vices. I'm not going to do drugs. I mean, there's so many things that you could go wrong. I just don't get involved in any of them. No gangs, no drugs, no gambling, none of that. You stay away from those things, chances are you're not going to get in trouble. Yeah. My troubles are always contraband. I get caught with something, some cash, some cigarettes, a phone, stuff like that. Sometimes you could bribe the officer, pay them, and they'll walk off. Sometimes they'll lock you up. It just depends on your luck. But aside from that, man, every blue moon I might make me some prison-made wine, like a little moonshine or something, and drop a little bottle and just hang out with my friends. But aside from that, man, I'm living my life sentence, very real. I'm absorbing this in reality like it is,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of us that are like that. A lot of us. I'm not just speaking for myself.
Well, I mean, look, it's fascinating. I mean, I would love to be able to tell your particular story. Obviously, everything we've spoken about here. I mean, we'll never mention your name because obviously the stuff that you don't want to get out there. But I would love to tell your story as you, if we can do that. If you're happy to do that. So I mean,
do I have to say the institution that I'm in?
No. We don't have to say any of it.
Okay. If I don't have to say where I'm at, then I don't have a problem saying at least my first name.
Well, can we link up another time to do a proper chat?
I also have WhatsApp.
Oh,
I don't know if that will help if that's any better.
Yeah, great. Okay, of course you do. All right. Well, so thank you so much indeed for chatting with me, and I will I'll send you a message once I've got this technical stuff sorted, and then we'll hook up a time to have another chat.
All right, Jack. No problem.
Amazing. Thanks for chatting to me. And that's all we've got time for. But Rio and I did catch up again to discuss why he is in prison and how he ended up getting a sentence that essentially would see him die in prison.
And she says, okay, but you're gambling because you can get life. I said, they're not going to give me life. I didn't kill anybody. I just didn't believe it. I didn't believe that they would do that to me.
Next time on 1 Minute Remaining. 1 Minute Remaining is a Mashed Pumpkin production, created, hosted and produced by Jack Laurence. Audio and sound design by Jack Laurence and Dom Evans of Earsay.